right, settle down, folks. Get ready. The show's about to start.
In DreamWorks Animation's film, Madagascar, a stellar lineup of talent bring life to the crazy animals of both the Central Park Zoo in New York City and the island of Madagascar.
You must tell me, who the heck are you?
I'm Alex, the Alex, and this is Gloria, Marty, and Mel-Min.
I play Alex, who's, I guess, sort of a little bit full of himself. He's sort of the main attraction at the zoo. He's the king of the Central Park Zoo.
Alex, the lion!
The animators were very inspired by Ben's face, and what he does is, even when he's upset, he does this thing where he's just, you know that he's not really mad, that he's just really caring and upset, and so you still love him.
Hey, you hear that? Marty's fine. Oh, that's good to know. Because I was just wondering, how could you do this to us, Marty? I thought we were your friends.
At the beginning of the movie, I think he's really happy in his world, and Marty is looking for something more. They're best friends, though, and they want different things, and I think that's sort of a lot of what the journey of the movie is about their friendship and how these two very different animals end up being there for each other as friends.
I wished I could go to the wild.
Yeah, I play the zebra Marty. That's me.
I'm loving San Diego. This place is off the Chizang.
So it's Chris Rock if he was born as a zebra.
Marty is a glass half full kind of guy. He's not depressed about his life in the zoo. He has a great time there, but he just wonders if there might be something more out there.
This isn't bad luck. This is good luck. Look around. There are no fences, no schedules. This place is beautiful. Baby, we were born to be here.
Marty's a zebra that wants to get out of the zoo. He's a New Yorker. They're all New Yorkers. He's a little spoiled. Doesn't realize how good he has it.
Ooh, yeah. We are taking a walk on the wild side. Look out.
Marty the zebra is this character that just loves life. Exuberant, smart, funny, interested in the world around him. And Chris Rock is perfect for that.
Come on, Mama, hold you. Oh,
they are so cute from a reasonable distance.
She's very maternal. She's definitely a take control, I got it, I can handle it type of woman. Alrighty, boys.
Fun's over.
Type of hippo.
Marty, look, you've got to be just a little bit more under.
Don't you shush me.
She's one of the strongest, toughest women I think I've ever met. Not to be pushed around, knows what she wants out of life, and that's exactly who Gloria is too.
It's really possible to be a big creature like Gloria, but still be really sexy and powerful and strong.
You just kind of want to snuggle up next to her and just hug on her and just roll all on her.
Mel-Min, Mel-Min, Mel-Min! Wake up, rise and shine. It's another fabulous morning in the Big Apple. Let's go.
Not for me. I'm calling in sick.
What?
I found another brown spot on my shoulder. See? Right there. You see?
Mel-Min, you know it's all in your head.
Well, I play Mel-Min the Giraffe, and he's, you know, the tallest and the coolest of all the animals in the movie. No, he's not really, but he's the tallest.
Nature! It's all over me! Get it off! I can't see! I can't see!
Oh, I can see.
Some actors just lend themselves perfectly for animation. David Schwimmer was one of those, where, you know, you hear him, you don't have to look at him, you can just hear him and go, he'd be a perfect Mel-Min, he'd be a perfect hypochondriac. And he's sweet, and he's caring, and we wanted Mel-Min to be comic relief as well as just someone really endearing.
That room has some nifty little sinks you can wash up in, and look! Free mints!
Stunt tongues are very necessary in this film. There's a lot of tongue gags.
Mel-Min rarely uses his hands. I mean, his tongue is... his tongue is very active.
It's an older code, Skipper. I can't make it out.
Those are great. Okay, Chris, we can move on to the next bit.
My name is Chris Miller, and on Shrek 1 and 2, I had an opportunity to play the Magic Mirror. And in Madagascar, I play a penguin named Kowalski. Kowalski's a bit of a scout. He assists in digging tunnels, breaking down codes, and anything he can do for his captain and the rest of his crew. The voice of the lead penguin is Tom McGrath, who is also directing the film. He plays the skipper.
The skipper's voice was just, I think, from pitching the boards of the penguins. He'd just bark orders. Rico, progress report, status. And I had done scratch and pitched for so long with this character. We just got used to the voice.
You higher mammal. Can you read?
The skipper is trying to be a bit of Robert Stack, because initially he was the inspiration.
All right, let me think. And shut him up!
Trying to be a little bit Charlton Heston in a way, you know. I'd like to kiss you, doctor. And be a little bit suave to kind of complement the barking, you quadruped. You know, sprechen Sie English? And it just became a matter for me, speech-wise, of just over-articulating every single thing I say.
Shh, we're hiding. Be quiet, everyone, including me. Shh, who's making that noise? Oh, it's me again.
We've got a great cast of lemurs on the island of Madagascar. Sacha Baron Cohen plays the voice of Julian the King. And this guy is kind of dumb as a post, but full of himself. He thinks he's the greatest leader.
Wait, I have a plan.
Presenting your Royal Highness, the illustrious blah, 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 you know, et cetera, et cetera. Hooray, let's go.
I play Maurice, who is the assistant to the self-proclaimed king. I kind of taken on this job. I feel like I'm a lot smarter than this guy.
I'm telling you, that dude just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
How can you have the heebie-jeebies for Mr. Alex? Look at him. He's so cute.
Lemurs are so incredible. They're nocturnal animals with huge ears and eyes.
I really like to hold fur because, you know, the tail, you can whip that around. Sometimes when I get cold, I whip it around me. I whip it on top, do a Don King thing with it. It's a number of things that you can do with a tail of that fuzzy magnitude.
What are they? What are they?
In the movie, I play Mort, who is one of the lemurs. He's in charge of the cute department for the movie because he's just a ball of cute.
Oh, I just want to dunk him in my coffee.
I think there's some sort of scientific mathematic ratio of big eyes to small furry head. And his eyes are about, I'd say, 60% of his head.
I liked them first. Before I even met them, I liked them.
Yes,
I
yes.
liked them. You hate them compared to how much I
Oh,
like
shut
them.
up, you're so annoying!
Oy vey.
Oy vey!
Oy vey, everybody!
When these guys came on board, Jada and Ben and Chris and Dave and the rest of the folks, you know, they take it to a whole new level, a place that you never even expected or anticipated.
Lady, what is wrong with you?
And that's part of the joy of doing this kind of work and working with that kind of really star talent.
What happens when you take 4 animals born and raised in a zoo?
This is the life.
And send them back to the wild for the first time in their lives? You get danger, mystery, and dancing monkeys. From the studio that brought you Shrek and Shark Tale comes the story of Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Mel-Min, 4 friends with no animal instincts. All they have is each other.
You suck the thumb?
Get ready to go behind the scenes and take a journey through the amazing creative process that brings Madagascar to life.
Surprise! Fire!
Madagascar brings together some of the biggest names in entertainment to give life to the party animals.
Works for me.
Including Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, David Schwimmer, and Jada Pinkett Smith.
These are New Yorkers. These are like dyed-in-the-wool New Yorkers. There's Alex the lion, there's Marty the zebra, then there's Mel-Min, who's the hypochondriacal giraffe that David Schwimmer plays, and Jada Pinkett Smith plays Gloria, who's the hippo, who's like a very sweet, feminine, strong-minded, sexy hippo. Which is nice to see a sexy hippo on film, because I don't think we've seen one for a while. It's incredibly pampered. As Alex says, there's fans, there's food, there's pampering. What more could you want?
Here come the people. Oh, I love the people. It's fun people, fun time. Woo!
I play Alex. He loves the adulation of the crowds, and he's very comfortable in his world. But then, by being forced out of his element, his environment, he grows as a lion.
Ben Stiller is a great Alex. You know, Alex is this guy that's confident when he's got all of his ducks in a row, but when things start to fall apart,
get me out of here!
Alex does too.
Marty! Yeah! All right, that's right!
I'm Marty the zebra, and I come up with this whole scam to get out of the zoo.
Let's go. What? The wild. Come on, you and me together.
The fact that Chris Rock is playing a zebra who doesn't know if he's white with black stripes or if he's black with white stripes. We all know that Chris can be very controversial as far as racial issues, and I thought that was hilarious that he was chosen for that.
Marty is somebody who has always looked outside, and for him in the same way, it's finding that it doesn't matter where he is, if he's with his friends, he can be happy.
I love animated films. I'm a huge fan, and I've always wanted to be the voice of some character. And when I heard it was a giraffe, I was just really excited. I don't know if it was a thing that they had written or not, but when they were talking about how he was neurotic and a hypochondriac and paranoid, I felt that, sorry.
That's the spot. Oh, I'm in heaven.
He's happy with his phobias, you know, complete hypochondriac, wears Kleenex boxes on his feet, but he loves it.
It's a zoo transfer.
Zoo transfer? Oh, no. No, I can't be transferred. I have an appointment with Dr. Goldberg at 5.
Gloria!
Alex! Well, I would describe Gloria as being, basically, she's the only female, you know, of this entourage. I know that's right. She definitely looks at, you know, the rest of the crew as being her kids.
And then I'm never talking to you again.
Look, we're just gonna find the people, get checked in, and have this mess straightened out.
She's big, she's beautiful, Jade is small and beautiful, and it still works perfectly for this film.
After a hilarious series of events lands the Zoosters on the island of Madagascar, they encounter different kinds of party animals, featuring the voices of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Give me some love. The plan works. I'm very clever.
Andy Richter.
They are savages.
And Cedric the Entertainer.
Toodaloo! Toodaloo. Nobody says that anymore. I love that one. Toodaloo!
Cedric the Entertainer is my favorite character in the movie, actually. Because it's the kind of voice you just don't hear in animated movies.
They come to kill us and take our women and our precious metals.
He's got this great bass voice. And the face they have on looks just like the little Cedric kid.
Oh, sorry.
In the movie, I play Mort, who is one of the lemurs.
Baby, did that big mean lion scare you?
As you can tell, I have the cutest voice in Hollywood.
Just having cute furry animals isn't enough. The road to Madagascar has got to be fun and entertaining. To the filmmakers, Alex the Lion isn't the king, the story is.
This film had a great premise. What if you took the cast of Seinfeld and threw them in the jungle? You know, how would they adapt? Then you can take it into storyboard and have artists work on it and start to flesh out these scenes.
There's so many fun ideas that immediately pump into it. You describe that basic idea, and everybody gets it. They go, oh yeah, I see what you could do with that. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I think that's always what you want to try to have with an animated film.
Yeah! Thank you. The irony of the story is that these two best friends don't know that in the wild they are natural enemies. He doesn't realize that his friends are actually food that he might eat.
I don't see anything.
How many times have you wanted to take a bite out of your best friend's butt? I mean, it happens.
So to have these two characters that are best friends in great contrast to their sort of natural behavior just made sense from the very start. Along the way, there's a disaster at sea and the crates are washed overboard and the animals wash ashore on the island of Madagascar. When they realize they've been dumped into the wild, it's time to panic for everybody except Marty the zebra, who gets his dream.
Marty! Hey! Hold up! Hold up! Whoa!
Here are these citified, civilized lion and a zebra and a giraffe and a hippopotamus wandering around out there in this world, and suddenly they gotta figure it out.
Part of the reason why the Zoosters are on Madagascar is because of a group of displaced penguins who are on a mission of their own.
The penguins are really there for comedy relief.
And they really are whacked. You know, they're just nuts.
They just want to get out of the zoo. And they're this team, well-oiled machine who stick together, follow orders, get the job done.
We're gonna face extreme peril. Private probably won't survive.
Once on the island, Alex, Marty, Mel-Min, and Gloria encounter wildlife much different from what they were used to in the Central Park Zoo.
Well, basically what's going on in Madagascar when we're there, we're really kind of party kind of animals. We have one main threat, which is the Fusa, and the Fusa eat us.
Run for your life!
And we happen to witness the lion scare the Fusa off. So we think, oh, well, now maybe we got some friends. So we try to befriend these guys. As we go through the story, I'm always leery of the lion, Ben Stiller. I'm just not, you know, everybody else seems to think this guy's a great guy, but, you know, me being the smart one, number two, you know, I'm thinking, I don't know, guys.
What big teeth you have. Man, shame on you, Maurice. Can you not see that you have insulted the freak?
Each one of our movies is meant to take our audience to someplace they've never been before. Madagascar, we know we're going to go to this amazing, you know, world that nobody's ever, you know, really imagined or seen before, at least not the way we've done it.
It was an out-and-out comedy. We knew that from the beginning, so that kind of gave us some ideas initially.
We really wanted to push the design. We wanted to create characters that were overly stylized, not based on reality, so that we could just have a lot of fun with how they looked and how they moved. They could be very human-like when we wanted them to.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
The main characters were designed by Craig Kelman, and he's a fantastic artist. He based his original designs off Golden Book, those old children's books, which were very simplified, straights against curves.
I was also influenced by the old Viewmasters, the old 50s Viewmaster. I thought it'd be cool to have a slick 3D movie that looked like those.
Craig put up his drawings, Jeffrey looked at him, and he said, home run.
I just kind of did a bunch of sketches, and they picked some out. They said, we like these, you know, these 4 drawings, and they just happened to be very graphic, very two-dimensional characters, and the kind of designs that they hadn't attempted in 3D before.
Alex is really our lead character. He's very chesty with a small waist, but he also needs to be very expressive. So there's this huge, very simple mane that frames his face.
I love his look. I think his hair is incredible. I wish I had Alex's hair. I'm mesmerized by it. Whenever he like shakes his head, there's like this sort of like ripple effect. Kind of got like a White Snake, the band White Snake sort of feel. You know, it's that 80s super rock thing.
The unique character designs for Madagascar also carried over into the look of the two worlds.
Still in New York. Abort!
New York City and the island of Madagascar itself.
Now, it's not photorealism, because that's not what we do in animation. To animate means to make bigger than life. So we've created our sort of bigger than life version of New York City. The sort of urban hustle and bustle of it all. Contrast it then with Madagascar, which is truly set down in the middle of nature, and there's nothing but nature. And then to make that nature also bigger than life.
We wanted to make this a cartoony, more graphic and stylized world. But it's not a fantasy world. It is New York City, and it is the Central Park Zoo. More of the 50s and 60s than it actually is now.
That's right!
We built it all like a regular world, and then we threw all the lines off kilter.
We called it a whack factor. You know, there's too much whack factor on that building.
We wanted to convey the warmth of New York and the sweetness that we were feeling in the zoo.
They took this sort of version of it and really stylized it in a way that reminded me of a lot of cartoons that I saw growing up.
He's on your left after Vanderbilt.
Okay.
If you hit the Chrysler building, you've gone too far.
Thanks a lot, officer.
It was great contrast between New York and Madagascar, which is just full of life and color and natural beauty and otherworldly beauty as well.
For Madagascar, we really wanted to give this idea that these were New Yorkers that were outside of their element. So when they hit that beach of Madagascar, we really wanted it to be shocking to them.
I'm gonna kill you, Marty!
Take it easy, take it easy!
Strangle
down!
Henry Rousseau is a painter a French painter who actually never went to the jungle. He'd go to the botanical gardens in France and get ideas, then paint these wonderful, exotic, mysterious, Shangri-La type paintings. This kind of almost childlike, naive vision for what a tropical jungle would be became our inspiration for Madagascar.
But as story developed and characters developed, it made more sense to us that the film take on a more homogeneous look. And so the style of our characters began to influence the style of our jungle.
Madagascar's stylized look isn't the only new visual direction the producers took the film. They also want to completely exaggerate the facial and body movements of the characters for comic effect.
First on the list for trying to maintain this 2D design and animation style is squash and stretch. Different parts of our characters need to be able to squash and stretch and have different timings. We use squash and stretch in this movie to really inflict a lot of pain on our characters. If Alex comes down on his head, first his head might squash, and then his shoulders might squash into his head, and then his chest might squash, and his hips might squash. So they all compress, and they store this energy, and then they pop out of it. And this happens quite often.
This film needed to be really active and fun, and a lot of the influences were, of course, Tex Avery and Chuck Jones in the 30s and 40s, that they had done this animation that was very broad, very big, very comedic and slapstick.
Oh, I got it! Oh! Would you give a guy a break?
But you can't just lift ideas and then put them into 3D and expect them to work. So we really started a little bit of trial and error. Let's try stretching this thing and see what happens. And then there's a lot of problems. When you have fur, it doesn't work just like a simple cartoon would work.
To really get the characters to squash and stretch and have a huge range of motion, being able to take their jaw and drop it down to their chest, that was something new for us to develop.
We would normally have limits on our characters and we would never expect to raise the arm beyond this. This film, we blew those out the door. You know, we have to be able to squish Alex down to 1 foot high, and he's 8 feet high. We have to be able to stretch his arm out to 11 feet long.
To do that kind of work, we have to be thinking of it ahead of time so that we can set up these puppets, is sort of what they are, these virtual puppets, so that they have that kind of a flexibility. And what that then allows us to do is to really get some really fun snap and action in the animation that we hope is pushing the boundary for computer animation.
And I think it's one of the things that visually is most entertaining about the movie. They're funny.
Bringing Madagascar to the screen was a 4-year effort completed by nearly 250 artists on 2 separate production campuses in California.
Production is actually making it come to life.
Here we go. You record the actors and take these storyboards and you watch it like you would a film, even though it's just drawings one after another. From that point on, just more and more gets added to the mix. It becomes this huge collaborative process.
Our artists are allowed to dream more, to imagine more, and the computer's their friend. We don't have 200 technologists who are mad scientists down somewhere trying to invent gizmos and then we figure out how to use them. It's actually the exact reverse of that. We come up with a story, and we're going to need a lot of special tools to bring that to life. And that's what those 200 mad scientists went off to do.
Before the actual computer animation can begin, clay figurines and miniature models are built from sketches and paintings, so the filmmakers have a 3-dimensional perspective of the characters and locations for the movie.
I'll do what is exactly in the painting, but I get to fill in the 360 degrees, what's behind it, what's on the side of it. So that's the freedom that I get, is to flesh out a lot of these environments. I did a model of the zoo, and I did the boat, and I did probably a whole forest of Baobab trees. In reality, I had no idea that these things even existed, but for some reason I spent a personal, good investment of my life with them for like 5 months, studying these bizarre-looking trees.
Ow!
To get the characters to move the way the animators want them to perform requires the skill of a group of character technical directors.
We're in charge of overseeing all of the creation of every character in Madagascar. We identify the technologies necessary to pull off the character's performance for the film.
Then there's also the aesthetic part of what we do. So folks here really have to have a good eye to know when, oh, this smile looks really good, this frown doesn't look good. So there's all these aesthetic skills that they really need as well.
One of the character technical directors, Penny Layton, designed a stunt tongue system which allows the character to interact with its own tongue. The first tongue gag we saw is when Alex lands on the beach. He's scraping sand out of his mouth and off his tongue. I expect we'll see the stunt tongue much more often in the future.
Once the virtual puppets have been built, it's time for the animators to have fun.
The challenge of animating these animals is not to make them appear as men walking around in suits. We want to make the zebra a zebra. He moves like a zebra. I can't say he acts like a zebra,
This place is crack-a-lackin'.
but we want him to move like a zebra.
This is the life.
Did that just say Grand Central Station or Cherokee Nation? Baby, we were born to be here.
And I am not going HMO.
The vocal performances are important. I think you'd have a hard time making a really entertaining film if you didn't start with good vocal. For an animator, if you hear someone who doesn't understand what it means to perform for animation, you sort of have a hard time imagining what you can do with that line. When you get a great performance,
All over me, get it off! Get it, I can't see! I can't see!
I can see.
the ideas will just come.
Madagascar also had the good fortune of utilizing some of the talents from other DreamWorks films, like Shrek and Shrek 2, to round out the movie's crazy cast of characters.
I saw in the Times that Donald Trump is speaking at Stony Brook. Well, of course we're going to throw poo at him.
Along with being one of the directors of Shrek 2, I was a plethora of voices in the movie, one being the gingerbread man.
Eat me!
I moved from this voice here over to Madagascar, where I am doing now a role called Mason the Monkey. Mason the Monkey, which is a really bad impression of James Mason I used to do. Wake up, you filthy monkey. His tea is perfect, and he likes his paper in the morning. Bagel, cream cheese, just so, you know. So it's that kind of a person. It's like, you know, they're monkeys, but they're very high-class monkeys. If you have any poo, fling it now.
I couldn't believe how they did the water. The water and the fire in the film is just so realistic.
We have a lot of water on Madagascar. Quite a few sequences are either on the open ocean or on the beach. We had to design systems where we're literally hand animating the shape of the waves, and we can totally control the timing, the height. There's one sequence where Marty the zebra is actually surfing on the waves, and we had to be able to totally choreograph what the wave was doing. We have a pretty big fire sequence. The artists working on effects like that, they have to come up with a system that does fire and looks believable as fire, but that they can also control and keyframe and be very specific about how they play with it, how they choreograph it.
You like to move it. She like
I would say probably about 2/3 of the movie have some big crowd or another. We have lemur crowds and fusa crowds. Lemur crowds and fusa crowds are newer for us because they're the first time we're doing furry crowds. So the complexity has gone way up, and the challenge has been how to do hundreds of furry lemurs bouncing around in a jungle environment and how to get that all rendered in computer graphics.
We've got thousands and thousands of plants in a single shot. And in order to make all that move, we actually have to program that.
Oh no! Ah!
The fact that something takes place on a beach means that there's going to be footprints, and there's going to be sand kicking up, there's going to be water, there's going to be sea foam. And all these things all of a sudden became, oh, how are we going to do that? As it turns out, these guys pulled it off and were able to do it.
Oh, come on. This isn't the end. This is a whole new beginning.
I think at the core of this movie, you know, is no matter where you are on this planet or what walk of life you're from, when you have family, you have a home. And that's ultimately what these four best friends discovered.
This is the first time I've had the experience of taking it from the beginning, you know, which was just years and years ago. I was 12 when we started working on this movie.
My daughter loved it, and halfway through the movie, she's like, "Daddy, is that you?" Yeah, that's me, honey. My daddy's the voice of a zebra. Of course he is.
Oh, you should take Lexington.
Mel-Min!
Okay, we should take Lexington. Giraffes rule. They are the coolest animal. That's the obvious overall message of the film.
Where are you giants from?
We're from New York. All hail the New York Giants!
You always hope that when you participate in movies like this, that they will be as lasting as all those other great children classics. I definitely hope for that my grandkids will be excited to see Madagascar and their kids. You know, like your great-great-grandmother, she was 33 years old when she did that Madagascar, you know.
Come on, we are New Yorkers, right?
Yeah.
We're tough. We're gritty.
Yeah.
We're adaptable.
Yeah.
And we are not going to lay down like a bunch of Mel-Min.
Those animals, they're great. Aren't they?
And Alex? Why don't you show him some of your act?
Oh, no, I really don't think I could. Okay.
No, you don't talk now, okay? Look around. There's no fences, no schedules. This place is beautiful.
You're not so good with the putting the words together and they're coming out good thing.
Yeah, let's just see as that.
Shh. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I know you two. Where's that psychotic lion? You ticked off the people. Let's go.
What? You bit the hand, Marty. You bit the hand. Go.
Guys? Ship to Kenya.
I'm in heaven.
Wildlife preserve Africa. Go.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move.
Madagascar is the first film that we've made at DreamWorks where all of the tools that we've previously made for things like Shrek 2 or Shark Tale, they've now resulted in a complete tool set for putting together most of the things that you can think of in these animated films. So Madagascar is sort of the culmination of, 15 to 20 years of development.
I wished I could go to the wild.
Madagascar started with pretty much a sentence. What would happen if you took 4 New York City zoo animals and took them out of this civilized place where they've spent their entire lives and plopped them into the middle of the savage jungle? How are these animals, who are really like people, like New Yorkers, how are they going to survive? Well, the world of Madagascar is actually very unique compared to what we've done on Shrek or other films, in that it's very stylized. We are not trying to emulate realism. Rather, we're trying to hit a bold statement in terms of graphic quality. And this applies to all the areas of the film, so the lighting is probably less naturalistic than we've done in other films. Also, the visual effects are a little more difficult in the sense that they have to be cartoony in the same way that the characters are cartoony in their animation.
Surprise!
From the outset, we said we wanted this to be a funny, physical film, from an animation point of view.
The principles of squash and stretch and really taking animation to an extreme have been around for decades.
The influences were, of course, Tex Avery and Bob Clampett and Chuck Jones as well.
CG is very good at doing sort of, volume preserved, you are the size you are, sort of representations of something. With our Tex Avery style, the characters actually expand and contract based on the emotion of the moment.
Very impressive.
Hey, have a drink. It's on the house. This is seawater.
The kinds of effects that we do on a film like Madagascar are pretty much anything that moves that isn't a character.
So when we're faced with a challenge, for example, in effects, where Nick Foster and his team are trying to create something that has never before been accomplished,
he knows he has the confidence of relying on AMD-based HP technology to get that job done.
It's allowing us to do a lot more than we could in the past, because now we can develop the story that we want to make instead of developing the story that we can make given the current state of the art in terms of technology.
Welcome to Madagascar.
The single biggest effect on Madagascar is the jungle. It's in almost every shot, and it's got tons of plants. We have to make them move as naturalistically as possible without being distracting, and also without having to sit down and try to figure out how to simulate every single plant in a jungle and how every single plant might move and every single thing might go along. And what's the wind speed? Okay, well, the wind speed, if it's going through here, and then we've got this. We figured out really early on that you just have to throw all that away and come up with something that's a lot more of a direct way of manipulating the geometry.
That's a big challenge to do because basically you're animating several thousand acting characters. At the same time, they all have to move in a similar but not identical way. To do that, it's a lot of physics and a lot of computation. We have a sizable render farm of HP servers using AMD Opteron processors. Those have really helped us to quickly generate full resolution images for more rapid approvals. The desktops themselves, that's about sort of artist interactivity, and so what they need is to get feedback very quickly. And for example, in lighting those furry creatures, they need to be able to see at least a portion of that furry creature come back lit very quickly so they can see where the shadows are and so forth and make some adjustments. And so that gave them more chances to review their results, and I think it shows on the screen.
Don't go.
So technology is enabling us to make films that weren't possible to make even a few years ago. And it is that combination between our proprietary technology, HP's extraordinary hardware, those collectively combined give capabilities to our studio that frankly nobody else in the world has.
Bye-bye. See you later, crocodile.
The Enchanted Island of Madagascar. Widely considered to be one of the most beautiful, exotic, and magical places in the entire world. An African country made up of one large island and a few small islands. Madagascar lies in the Indian Ocean, about 240 miles or 400 kilometers southeast of the African mainland. It is the fourth largest island in the world, behind Greenland, New Guinea, and Borneo.
Oddly enough, in the beginning, Madagascar was not an island at all, but rather part of an ancient supercontinent called Gondwanaland. Then, about 160 million years ago, Madagascar started to split from Africa and drift off into the Indian Ocean. And from that time on, it began to evolve in isolation from the rest of the world. As a result, most of the exotic plants and animals of Madagascar are of ancient Gondwanan origin.
This mini-continent is a living laboratory for science and has been described as an alternate world because of the rarity of many of its plant and animal species.
It has incredible levels of endemism, that is, plants and animals unique to Madagascar. It has 5% of the world's plant species, and 90% of these are found nowhere else in the world.
Today in Madagascar, most of the country's people, called Malagasys, are either farmers or herders and are of African or Indonesian descent. The official spoken languages are Malagasy and French.
Madagascar is a place that I had read much about over many, many years. Even as a kid, I remember seeing, documentaries and great coffee table books with beautiful, beautiful landscapes, incredible creatures. It's a wonderful country, wonderful people. The landscape and the creatures and the animals and the world there is quite unique. There's no other place like it on the planet.
From mankind's first steps on the Enchanted Island to present day, Madagascar continues to inspire the arts, painters, musicians, photographers, and dreamers, all charmed by the otherworldly destination. It was only natural that DreamWorks Animation would be drawn to recreate the exotic land for the setting of their animated film, Madagascar.
Welcome to Madagascar.
Each one of our movies is meant to take our audience to someplace they've never been before.
This place kind of grows on you.
Madagascar, we know we're going to go to this amazing, world that nobody's ever, really imagined or seen before, at least not the way we've done it.
Madagascar started with pretty much a sentence. What would happen if you took 4 New York City Zoo animals and took them out of this civilized place where they've spent their entire lives and plopped them into the middle of the savage jungle?
Nature! It's all over me! Get it off!
And how did the filmmakers come up with Madagascar's amazing look?
Henri Rousseau is a painter, a French painter who actually never went to the jungle. He'd go to the botanical gardens in France and get ideas and then paint these wonderful, exotic, mysterious, Shangri-La type paintings of this fantastic jungle. And this kind of almost childlike, naive vision for what a tropical jungle would be became our inspiration for Madagascar.
Here we are. Where exactly is here?
Animators, modelers, and the production design team worked to recreate the strangest and most popular plant in Madagascar, the Baobab Tree.
Among the best known and strangest plants in Madagascar are the surreal-looking baobabs, which look like they've been planted upside down. Some of them can live to be 3,000 years old, and 7 of the world's 8 species of baobabs are found in Madagascar.
This is a Baobab tree from Madagascar, and it is one of the strangest trees I've ever seen. I did probably a whole forest of Baobab trees, spent a personal good investment of my life with them for like 5 months or 6 months, studying these bizarre looking trees. But when you actually see it all come together, it looks absolutely stunning.
When it comes to incredible animals, nowhere else in the world will you find monkey-like creatures called lemurs. There are 69 kinds of lemurs that inhabit Madagascar.
There are more unique and indigenous animals on the island of Madagascar than I think other than maybe 2 or 3 other places on the entire planet in it, and they only exist there. Lemurs are the perfect example.
This delightful little fellow is a golden-crowned sea fox. This is a species of lemur from northern Madagascar that was not described by science until 1986. There are only about 5,000 to 8,000 of these little guys in the wild. And we're working with the Malagasy NGO Fanambi to create a national park to ensure their long-term survival.
Creating crowds of lemurs proved to be a daunting challenge for the animation team. There are 12 unique lemur designs, and one sequence features the biggest crowd of furry animals in a CG film so far, 1,100 lemurs.
It's one of the things that visually is most entertaining about the movie. They're funny. They're funny the way they move, they're funny the way they act, and the positions they take and the exaggeration of expressions. It just gives it an energy and a life to it that's special.
Look at him. He's so cute and plushy.
We do an enormous amount of research on the animals of Madagascar, the plants. What's so great about developing the look of the movie is that we have an idea. We find out what the reality is. We went and saw lemurs and studied books of the plant life in Madagascar and the different geographies. And then what we do is say, okay, now how do we take it and make it even more fantastical?
Wow, would you look at that?
Madagascar is just so beautiful. The colors and the way they've created those environments and the nightscapes and the that's what's fun about these movies is you can just go to this whole other world.
I was involved with a movie called Lion King. The impact that movie had on Africa in terms of tourism is beyond anything you can imagine. When you talk to people in the tourism industry, they tell you just the incredible surge that came when people saw this amazing world shown in the beauty of that film.
Sorry.
My hope is that with a movie called Madagascar out there in the world, people will be interested, they'll go on the internet, they'll go to a website, they'll find out about the country, and that, it will have a great positive impact on tourism.